Today on the show, Trump gets pissed off at Israel and Iran, and New York City very well might be voting in a seemingly socialist, communist mayor. We'll get to talking about that. Going to keep it light after the last couple shows have gone quite long, me by myself, and I have a couple of exciting guests coming up. So, hope you guys enjoy the show. And without any further ado, I am your host, Sal Sante, with We the Patriots podcast. Let's get right into it.
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Do you have to respond to Iran?
So the video that you just heard or watched, depending on what platform you are on, that was Trump getting absolutely pissed, seemingly, about Israel and Iran. And, well, I don't really have too much to say about it, other than the fact that I think it's a good thing. Now, is the language very good? I would say not really. It's not very presidential, definitely. But at the end of the day, even with the virality of that clip and all that stuff going on, the decision to come out on Trump's behalf and come out and state the frustration with the situation, I think it's very good. As we talked about last week, he has been unable to find a peaceful agreement with the conflicts going on around the world, whether you're talking about what's going on in Ukraine and Russia, whether you're talking about what's going on with Israel and Gaza. So this is good. It's a development, to say the least. Now, am I in support of what we did to Iran? Not really. As you can tell by my last episode, do I think that it had the opportunity to lead to a lot bigger conflict than actually happened? Yeah, absolutely. Thankfully, it seems that it's not going that way. We are in a ceasefire right now and not total peace, so things can change very quickly. But at the end of the day, I'm very, very happy with that video of being critical of not only Iran, but one of our allies who, in my opinion, stepped out of line. And it is important to reel those people back in if they want the support of the United States and the support of the president. So good on Trump for that. And I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments of if you're in agreement with the strikes on Iran, if you are in agreement with the way Trump has gone about this. I'm pretty certain that a lot of us aren't, and that's okay. Now, moving on to this mayoral race for New York City. This is kind of crazy, actually. It seems like Eric Adams is not even close. See if he drops out. Cuomo being in the race at all is insane. And then this guy, Zoran Mamdani, wins the primary for the Democrats. And I just want to go over some of the policies that he's proposing and talk about how insane a lot of the proposals are. Now, granted, do I think that a lot of these proposals will go through? No, I don't think he's going to have the backing even if he gets elected. That being said, that doesn't mean that it's not really crazy to hear these proposals. So we're going to talk about some of them. And yeah, I mean, New York City is the next state over. Go to New York City quite a bit. If certain things get implemented, it's going to be very tough to consider going there anymore. I can't imagine that this becomes a very livable space. So let's start right at the top. He wants to freeze the rent, which we all know has a history of that happening, does not usually play out very well. You know, with it being impossible that landlords are able to make money, their places go into disrepair. So he wants to freeze the rent. He wants to build more affordable housing and then crack down on bad landlords. This is all on his website, by the way, so you can go check it out. I'll put a link in the description. So you want to crack down on bad landlords being the people that do not service their places enough. They don't have adequate heat. They don't have adequate air conditioning. They don't have people servicing the issues as often as they should. Well, I'll tell you one way to guarantee that that's going to continue would be freezing the rent. If you don't allow rent to go up enough, if landlords aren't able to charge what they deem necessary for their property, it's going to be impossible for them to actually fix their property. Just, I feel like that's obvious, but I'm just saying, I think that that's impossible to do these things together. Now, when you go down past housing, I'm gonna get into the Department of Community Safety. Now, and I do actually want to make a point before I move on from housing completely. I don't disagree that rent is crazy high in New York City, and there should be some things that are taken into account there on how to fix it. Just that freezing the rent, I don't think is a possibility. There are many problems that are going to come from doing that. I think it should be well noted that it's very possible that that will happen. Now, when it comes to the Department of Community Safety, this allegedly, according to Mamdani and his website directly, is not a replacement for the police. So there's no defund the police. So at least there's that. There's a positive. What it seems that this Department of Community Safety is about is taking away some of the non-violent encounters of police and giving them to a different department in order for them to take care of it, de-escalate situation, whatever it may be, and not have to involve the cops when the cop might not be totally necessary. I don't disagree with this, actually. I think that this might be a good route, especially if, like I said, if you're not defunding the police and you're looking to have a force that works in conjunction with the police, deals with nonviolent offenders. I think that this is actually a very good way of going about things, and I would like to see it if he was to get in office, which it seems is very likely at this point, given as liberal voting as New York City is. I would like to see this implemented, and I would like to see how it works. Now, when it comes to just general affordability, not rent, the big proposal coming from Amdani's website is city-owned grocery stores. This is where we get into some of the communism, socialism critiques, and I gotta be honest, I don't disagree with those critiques. According to his website, quote, food prices are out of control. Nearly 9 in 10 New Yorkers say the cost of groceries is rising faster than their income. Only the very wealthiest aren't feeling squeezed at the register. As mayor, Zoran will create a network of city-owned grocery stores focused on keeping prices low, not making a profit. Without having to pay rent or property taxes, they will reduce overhead and pass on savings to shoppers. They will buy and sell at wholesale prices, centralize warehousing and distribution, and partner with local neighborhoods on products and sourcing. End quote. There's a little bit more on here, but I just got to be honest. Any state-controlled anything usually goes terribly. Whether you're talking about fixing the roads, how about the roads in New York City? I don't see a mention of this anywhere on this whole website. Fixing the roads, fixing the crumbling infrastructure, cleaning up the, for lack of a better word, the bums all in and around the public transport. I think that this is far more, it should be far higher on the agenda, I would say, than a city-owned grocery store. First, you're not going to get producers to produce food without them making a profit, so I can't really gather how that's even going to be possible. And second, you're just going to allow this one type of business to not pay rent, not have overhead here. That just seems like you are anti-competition and anti-American in a way. Now, I'm not saying that anti-American, or at least anti-conservative American, is always bad. I do think that government ownership, especially of the food supply, is not great. As we could see, we have become one of the most unhealthy nations in the world, and we spend a lot of our money on food. You would think that we had some better options, and it does not seem that this is lending into that possibility. We'll see. I don't think that this will be able to be implemented, but if it does, we will see. I do not think it's going to have a very good effect, and if anything, I think price controls are going to lead to the same problems that they always do. Whether you're talking about a shortage of supply, whether you're talking about the prices not being as good as we all thought, or just an inability to actually purchase what you want and being forced to purchase food that is not what you would actually want to go to the grocery store for. I think you're going to see a lot of these issues if this is implemented. We will have to see. He wants fast and free buses. Again, I actually am in agreement on this one. I am of the opinion that if you pay enough taxes, public transportation should not cost you money. Now, it doesn't say anything here about like subways, which is what a lot of people are using for fast transport, and I get that. But I don't disagree with this entirely. I think that, again, you're paying exorbitant tax rates to be in the city, to live in the city, to pay for all of the things in and around the city. I actually am in support of this, and I think that you could make it work with the budget and with the amount of very wealthy people. I believe I saw something that like New York has something like 140 millionaires. Could be 140 billionaires in the city. I could be wrong there. Don't know if I'm nailing that, and that's not a quote from anything. I'm just pulling that out of some research that I saw recently. But At the end of the day, what I'm saying is you have a lot of very wealthy individuals paying taxes in the city, paying a lot of city tax, paying state tax. I think that this is doable and becoming a service that is at least helpful, especially if it's well run. So we'll have to see on this one. Now, fighting corporate exploitation, that's like stuff that's said, I think, by everybody at this point. Early child care. This is childhood and education, I should say. This is another thing that I would say kind of lends towards that communism and socialism adage about Zoran Mamdani. And one of the examples is that he wants no cost child care. No cost child. Another example of the government taking away something that is for profit and trying to run it internally. Generally speaking, again, it does not really play out too well. So we would be very interested to see if this is implemented, just how well it goes. And to be honest, I'm guessing that we will see a lot of negativity come out of that, but we will have to wait and see. This is something that I think, with the amount of people living in and around New York City, I do not think that it's feasible budget wise to do this without having some major problems. It's very expensive, as is, you know, supply chain of food. Childcare is very expensive and a lot of people need it. So I think that this one's probably not the best idea. There is a hope to revitalize all standards of education from K through 12. So we'll just have to see what those policy implementations are. A lot of it, at the end of the day, does, as we've talked about with my friend John often on the show, a lot of education policy centers around what's being handed down from the Board of Education, Department of Education, I should say, and handed down. And, you have certain guidelines that you need to stay in between. I don't think you could revamp things too crazily there. And I really don't see any ability to outrageously affect the system from Mamdani's perspective. Wants to add taxes to the rich. I think that everybody on the left, at least, does want to do this at this point. You could add taxes, you could take taxes away. At the end of the day, what is going to happen if they get too out of control is that people are going to leave. So, no problem there. They want to have green schools. It's pretty interesting. They want to fight the climate crisis, which, that's an adage that we've heard quite a bit. And they want to improve the quality of life. Here, he has a plan to deliver a cleaner New York, according to him, and he wants to invest in public schools and make them green schools. Essentially, schools that have their energy production carbon net neutral, not actually producing or utilizing any carbon, clean energy usage, and having the system set in place so that they do not need to spend money on electricity. I get the aspect. I don't think it's going to be super possible given the amount of land that you're working with in New York City itself. You need quite a bit of land either for wind or solar power. Don't think that's going to work out too well, but we'll see. See if this would be another thing I'm not so sure would be able to be implemented. And as I've said on the show many times before, I'm sure you guys might be tired of me saying it, but all politicians lie. So there's a certain amount of this platform that just won't be able to be put into practice. And that's okay. When it comes to LGBT stuff, he's pushing a lot of this. I'd be interested to see what exactly comes of that, because New York City is already a very pro LGBTQ plus IA alphabet community type of place. That's fine. What he wants to do to, I didn't see anything in the works of him pushing for a state or even a citywide healthcare system. So it doesn't seem like he wants the taxpayers to pay for that. What he does want to do, it seems, is to educate people on their options when it comes to either Medicare, Medicaid, or getting people access to the information, at least for them to be able to make a decision if they don't know that they have coverage options. That I can't really disagree with. I think that's pretty simple. You'll spend a lot of money getting people out there and canvassing and finding out what is actually the need of people. But at the end of the day, if it's helping the citizens, I don't mind that. I think that actually has some good aspects to it. Now we get into one of the biggest changes, and this is a proposal by Mamdani in order to promote a $30 minimum wage by 2030. Effectively, in New York City, I believe it is $16.50 right now for minimum wage. You're talking about nearly doubling it in the next 5 years, 4 or 5 years. I don't think that this will be able to go through. However, as we've spoken about on the show many times, raising the minimum wage is actually just going to be counterproductive. What raising the minimum wage does is it undercuts the low paying jobs that already exist, things that in a lot of cases are either people just getting back into the workforce or are their first jobs. And instead, raising that up, undercutting them, businesses are going to be going after more automated, whether you're talking about cashiers, looking for robots to do the work like stocking shelves and whatnot. Look at, any McDonald's now doesn't even have somebody you could pay at the register. They have a bunch of iPads set up. So these are the type of things that you're going to start seeing if this was actually able to be implemented, this $30 minimum wage. And at the end of the day, it's going to come with a heck of a lot of inflation. In order to double the minimum wage, it is going to absolutely rip people apart when it comes to the prices of everything. Look out for that. Like I said, we've talked about it enough on the show. I just want to bring it up that this is a proposal from Mamdani. I do not agree with it at all. I think that I'm a believer that the real minimum wage, no matter what the dollar figure that the government puts on it, is always $0. You either have a job and you decided to take the money that was offered to you, or you don't have a job and you're making nothing. At the end of the day, a minimum wage just sets the level at which you're not going to be able to find a job anymore. We'll see. Again, I don't think that this one's going to be possible to get through. I don't think that enough people are going to be on board with raising it that drastically. Do I think it'll be increased? Yeah, 100%. $30 an hour, I do not think is going to be achievable. We will have to wait and see. And this again, also, if Mamdani actually wins in the general, he only won the primary for the Democratic Party. So we have to keep that in mind as well as we go forward on all of this. And as we get towards the bottom, he wants to promote small business, which is interesting. So maybe something that goes against that socialism, communism tack that's being thrown on him. Good on him. He wants to support libraries and build them up, get them into a higher budget item than they currently are. I'm all for that. Love education, especially education given out to the people. And he wants to Trump proof New York City. Sounds a lot like what is being talked about in regards to Gavin Newsom, California. I know this is only a city, but at the end of the day, he is talking mainly in this argument on his website, talking about ICE agents and them doing their jobs, essentially. At the end of the day, when you look back on everything that we talked about today, there are some very concerning things that are a part of Zoran's platform. Do I think that he will be able to institute all of it? Not even close. Do I think he'll be able to institute a lot of it? Honestly, also not really that close. Do I think he's going to go after the big ticket items and really push for things like, for example, the minimum wage? Yeah. Is he going to try to freeze rent? I think so. Is there anything that he can do about bad landlords? Not really, especially if there's a rent freeze. There are some things that I like. The Department of Community Safety being one of them, free buses being another one, and a lot of seemingly high attention being paid to something like libraries. Very much a fan of this. Now, when you talk about the things that kind of lead him to actually being communist socialist, whether you talk about no cost childcare, the city run, government run food stores, don't think that that's a great plan whatsoever. Again, freezing the rent, not great. And raising the minimum wage to an unrealistic number. All of these things, if they were to get implemented, I think would have a very, very large negative impact on the residents of the city and the surrounding areas. Being a resident of New Jersey, a lot of our policy stems down from New York City. And if that's going to be the case, and we are following suit in the next year, he wants most of the stuff instituted by 2030. We might see a lot of the changes coming our way by 2033, 34, I would say, depending on who we actually have running our state at the time, and Phil Murphy is leaving. So at the end of the day, I urge you all to do your homework, vote accordingly, but do not be surprised if this man wins pretty handily. It seems like the Republican candidate, I haven't done too much research on him, doesn't seem like he's very strong, doesn't seem like he's making very good cases against him. He's kind of using that cheap line of, oh, he's anti-Semitic because he talks against the Israeli government. If that's the way you think you have to beat this guy, I'm not going to lie, you're going to get your ass kicked. I think that's the way that this is going to go. So just be on the lookout, understand what's coming down the pipe, and at the end of the day, politicians lie, man. I don't think that he's going to be able to push this whole platform. I think we're going to be okay at the end of the day, but it is scary that politicians like this are being pushed to the forefront now because there's no real understanding of the impacts, the negative impacts of the policies that they are pushing for. And people don't have any understanding of what the implications are on themselves as they vote for it. There's many places, at some point in the show, pretty recently, I want to say within the last year, I did a show comparing the United States to the fall of Rome and how once basically Roman emperors, even though they never called themselves that, once the Caesars started getting into power and just how quickly the state, the Colossus, the Roman Empire collapsed based off of those people being autocrats and running the entire country. It's policies like this when you are, you know, offering to buy the votes essentially with a higher minimum wage, free healthcare, he didn't offer free healthcare. I don't want to misspeak. Free childcare, freezing rent, and essentially buying stuff for the people's vote. It almost always comes back to bite the actual citizenry in the ass. We'll have to wait and see. Again, I am almost positive that Zoran Mamdani is going to win this election. We can wait and see on that. Let me know what you think in the comments if you are a fan of this guy, if you'll be voting for him, because I got a lot of friends here in New York City. And let me know if this is the route that America should be taking, if that's your belief. And let me know why, because I am just about certain that this would break our country if this was nationwide. That's all I got for you today. Again, I got a couple really good interviews coming up, so I hope that you enjoy those as they come out. We'll have one coming in next week, and we will have another one coming in the week after the 4th of July. Enjoy it. But that was actually the same week. I should have been honest about that. We will have an interview coming out the week after 4th of July. We'll also have an interview coming out the week after that. 2 in a row, big interviews, so I hope you guys enjoy them. I got nothing else for you today. I hope you have a wonderful week and a wonderful 4th of July weekend. Stay safe out there. Don't blow your fingers off like so many have, and enjoy it. This is Sal Sante with the Patriots Podcast. I wish I were the fucking state. I want to be something, not nothing. Trapped inside my dream and I'm running away from these demons. But the feeling's so good, I'ma keep dreaming.